Hello, this is the 250th edition of Catch of the Day, available on the Branch Talk YouTube channel. Today we're going to read from a book written by Trent Wilde entitled The Mosaic Torah. Starting at the top of page 1, we read, Did Moses write the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible? The automatic response of most Jews and Christians is something like, of course he did. We've known that for centuries, but not everyone accepts knowing something for centuries as evidence, especially since there are many things we have known for centuries that have turned out to be wrong. The earth being the center of the universe, and bloodletting being an effective treatment for disease are just a couple examples among many. Moreover, just as it was a combination of critical thinking, willingness to question tradition, and subjecting our ideas to rigorous testing that led to the rejection of these ideas, some assert that it is these same things, the same ways and means that have led modern biblical scholarship to overwhelmingly reject the idea that Moses wrote the Torah. So what is the truth? Is the traditional view right, or is modern scholarship correct in its rejection of it? Before we begin to answer this question, let's clarify one basic point. Many readers of the Bible assume that its first 5 books, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, are separate books. This is only natural given that they have different titles and are printed using a format which would seem to indicate that they are as separate from each other as are any other 2 books in the Bible. In reality, though, these 5 books constitute one literary work. This is apparent from the fact that they tell one continuous story, which flows seamlessly from one book to the next. With this point in mind, we can examine the Torah as a whole, especially seeking to derive from it any facts which have a bearing on the question of Mosaic authorship. Now to ask what should be an obvious and natural question: does the Torah claim to have been written by Moses? The only way to definitively establish the answer to this question is to read the entire Torah. But since it would be impractical to quote it here in full, and since you can read it on your own, we'll just look at the passages where one would expect an author to identify him or herself. The first such passage is at the very beginning. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1, verse 1. As you can see, this verse simply does not identify its author. If you read the whole first chapter and beyond, you will see that it does not do so either. The next place one might think to find an author's identification is at the end of a work. So let's see what it says. Verse 10. Never since has there arisen in Israel a prophet like Moses, whom the Lord knew face to face. 11. He was unequaled for all the signs and wonders that the Lord sent him to do in the land of Egypt against Pharaoh, and all his servants, and all his land. 12. And for all the mighty deeds and all the terrifying displays of power that Moses did before the eyes of all Israel. Deuteronomy 34, verses 10 to 12. Not only does this passage not claim Moses as its author, it even speaks of him in third person, indicating that the author distinguished between him and herself and Moses. Furthermore, for Moses to say, "Never since has there arisen in Israel a prophet like Moses," he was unequaled, for all the mighty deeds and all the terrifying displays of power that Moses did, etc., would really be for him to say, "Never since has there arisen in Israel a prophet like me. I am unequaled for all the mighty deeds and all the terrifying displays of power that I did." This sort of bragging isn't really what you'd expect from the humblest man on the face of the earth, which is what he's called in Numbers 12 verse 3. Also not something you'd expect the humblest man on earth to say about himself. This matter of referring to Moses in third person is pretty important. In fact, from the time baby Moses is first introduced in Exodus chapter 2, all the way till the end of the Torah, he is always described in third person. This does not sound like Moses writing his own autobiography. It sounds more like someone else writing a biography about Moses. Being the main character of the Torah story does not make him its author, just like Jesus being the main character of the stories of the New Testament Gospels does not make him their author. Besides, Moses isn't the Torah's only main character. Before him was Joseph, then Jacob, then Isaac, Abraham, Noah, all the way back to Adam and Eve. The Torah's narrative is really a family saga with many main characters across time, and all of them are referred to from the third-person perspective of the narrator. So again, does the Torah claim to have been written by Moses? As we can now see, the answer is clearly no. Neither the beginning, end, nor middle of the Torah claims Moses as its author, and whoever did write it referred to Moses as distinct from him or herself. Some might think that pointing this out is somehow anti-Torah, but how could it be? It could not possibly be against the Torah to question or disbelieve a claim which the Torah does not itself make, or to simply point out that it does not make that claim. Likewise, it is not anti-Moses to acknowledge that the Torah does not claim to have been written by him. If there was a book in circulation which did not claim you as its author, would you feel it against you for someone to point out that it does not claim to be written by you? Would that even make sense? Of course not. When it comes down to it, one could far more easily and strongly argue that it is the traditional view which is anti-Moses and anti-Torah. If Moses did not really write the Torah, to suggest that he did place his words in his mouth and which he did not say, and which he might not have wanted to be attributed to him, it would also overshadow the Torah's actual author, which would make it pretty well inevitable to lose sight of his or her original aims and ideas in writing, thus resulting in the Torah and its author losing their integrity. And as I think we can all agree, that would be a shame. Take care.